Taylor Swift is big mad because that guy who started tracking private jets of Elon Musk now tracks the private jets of basically everybody. And he found out that Taylor Swift actually, well, according to this report, had 2 jets and flies a lot. Now, Taylor Swift is basically saying you are stalking and harassing me and you should stop. But this guy points out, hey, look, man, everybody's quite concerned that Taylor Swift is flying private, pumping out nearly 140 tons of carbon emissions. Oh, man. I love this story. Look, I know everybody's just so tired of Taylor Swift and they're like, oh, who cares? Politics, dude. This is so perfect. Taylor Swift, who is the celebrity darling right now. I mean, she's like the top celebrity. I know some people are, no, Trump is the top celebrity. Okay, Trump is running for office. But yes, Taylor Swift is one of the top celebrities, most famous people in the world. Everybody wants to know, is she going to be able to make it to the Super Bowl from Japan? And what's going to happen at the Super Bowl? And I just love this because you cannot be a leftist, climate change advocate, and a fan of Taylor Swift at the same time because she flies private like crazy. You know, the story is actually really funny. So I tweeted out that I would insist Taylor Swift double global atmospheric carbon concentration if it meant otherwise she could not be at that Super Bowl. It was funny. Somebody tweeted, they're like, I don't know what that means, but I'm taking it as disrespect. Here's what I'm saying. Yo, I don't care that Taylor Swift is pumping out carbon emissions. Literally do not care. I think most of the stuff they're pushing out about it is lies. I do believe human pollution causes serious problems. The bug population is gone. I got concerns about the plastic in the ocean and what we're putting in our bodies. So yeah, human pollution is a bad thing. I don't believe the climate change people, though. They buy beachfront property. So as for Taylor Swift, y'all got a big conundrum right now. You cannot cheer for her going to the Super Bowl to be with Travis Kelce while also being an advocate to stop climate change. And you know, this brings itself back to this whole narrative about people claiming Taylor Swift is going to be this Democrat plant and she's going to help Joe Biden. And I'm just like, dudes, please. You have every opportunity to weaponize politically Taylor Swift to the right-wing advantage. So I will say it again. Taylor Swift must make it to the Super Bowl so that she can see her beau, Travis Kelce, win the game-winning touchdown and take home that Super Bowl ring. And the only way she can do it is flying on a big old private jet. I'm down for it. I literally have no beef whatsoever with Taylor Swift flying on a private jet. I actually think it's kind of pathetic. It's kind of nasty that there is this guy who's like, let's track everyone's private jets. They do this, many of them, because they want to shame and harass people who fly private because of carbon emissions. Now, don't get me wrong. You drive a car. I can see your car on the road. I can say I saw your car on the road. Ain't nothing you can do about it. It just so happens there's very few private jets relative to how many cars there are. So when someone's got a website tracking the real-time information of your private jet, it can be really annoying. Now, Taylor Swift, she got safety issues. Look at this. But there are activists who want to shame her, get her to stop flying private, stop flying at all, probably many of them, because of the carbon emissions produced by her plane. So check this out. Taylor Swift threatens to sue college junior who runs social media account that tracks her private jet, accusing him of stalking and harassing behavior. I got to be honest. This dude, I think the principal reason that there are people behind this is because they want to shame people who fly private. Private jets produce a ridiculous amount of carbon emissions. It takes a ridiculous amount of energy and resources to fly a private jet. Commercial jets, bigger, lower energy costs, more overall energy consumed, but more humans transported, much more efficient. The only way Taylor Swift would be able to do her tours is literally flying private. So now Taylor's basically trying to get him to stop, saying she's going to file legal action against him. He points out this. This is what Jack Sweeney, the guy who's tracking her jet, said. In a statement to Daily Mail, he said, I think it's important to note that nowhere do I intend harm. Full stop. What does that even mean? Dude, if you tell everybody where Taylor Swift is landing, many of these private airports don't have heavy security. So most of the regional airports that, we've flown into or that we have here, like Frederick, for instance, there's Martinsburg. It's like a chain link fence. Some of them don't even have anything. You walk right in the tarmac. If you were going to publish it, Elon Musk was landing at one of these smaller, FBOs, they call them, fixed base operators. There could be a crazy person standing right there where there's no security. What ends up happening then is Taylor's going to be forced to land at a larger airport with security. It's going to be more expensive. Anyway, he goes on. He says, also important to note that this letter came days after headlines about her jet use caused bad headlines for her about carbon emissions. A year earlier, her team stated to the media that her jet is rarely used by her and it's loaned out. The statements by her team directly contradict each other, just like her team's response to there being one jet, which is only true in the past 2 weeks. Her family together has owned, and he lists 2 tail numbers, for years, only changing recently, saying there is only one jet and it's an attempt to make the family's jet use seem not as bad, which may be now true. This is only recently changed. The event was eerily similar to December 2022 when Musk tweeted he could take legal action against me. Apparently he couldn't. All of which was disproven by OSINT. Swift's team also suggests that I have no legitimate interest in sharing the jet information, which is inherently wrong. Her fans, the ones who have grown to use Taylor Swift Jets accounts and subreddit, the tracking accounts routinely have more supporters and fans than otherwise. When the Embassy of Japan in the USA makes a statement saying that they're confident she's going to make it, I think people are interested to know. What they're saying basically is she is pumping out carbon emissions like no other. And this has got the progressive left all riled up. Take a look at this. From the Daily Mail. Taylor Swift slams reports she is the biggest celebrity CO2 polluter of the year after her jet tops new list of stars with worst emissions, claiming that her plane is loaned out regularly to other individuals. I got to tell you, Taylor, that excuse does not fly with climate change activists. You own a private jet. They don't care if you are on it. What you're saying with this headline is you are profiting off of climate change. So to be like, I only fly a little bit and I let other people use the jet so it's used more frequently. Heavens. What you should, I guess there's no answer. You can say you can shut up. But look, I'm not trying to rag on you, Taylor. I'm 100% A-okay with you flying private. I respect it. I got no beef. I think these people are liars, political ideologues, and they're trying to use you to win political points. I think you absolutely should fly private from Tokyo to Las Vegas, and you should enjoy the Super Bowl. See, my friends, I'm going to let you in on a big secret. I also fly private. I know, so I'm biased. As the 1%, I must protect Taylor Swift's claim to her private jet. Now, to be fair, I don't own a private jet. In fact, when she says that her jet is loaned out to people, I'm probably the kind of people who might periodically take through a broker a jet like this. In fact, I've probably flown on some famous people's jets I wouldn't even know. Oh. Here's how it works. There are many brokers and firms. You call them up and say, hey, we need to be able to fly from here to here at this time. They'll say, okay, we'll get you a quote. They send you a breakdown of costs, landing fees, etc. And they say, here's your dates. You can pay for it. It's going to cost this. And then you do. You land. You never see the plane again. And so for someone like me here at Timcast, when we have to move 8 people and equipment, so if we've got cameras or mics or bags, we have a mobile studio set up, an emergency backup, that we cannot bring on a commercial jet, then, well, there's only real way. I'll break this down for you. Let's totally get into the private jet stuff. So when we travel for a show like we did in Des Moines, we've got a crew of probably 8 people. I mean, in fact, we had more than we had like 12. So some had to fly commercial, but that's the way it's going to go. The only way for me to get there is going to be if I fly on a Friday night after the show, or because we've got to do setup. It's in most of these circumstances, it is basically impossible. For this Des Moines show, it was a Wednesday night. We had to be there Wednesday night, which means Tuesday after the show at 11 o'clock. I have to get in the car right when we're done filming, go to one of the regional airports, hop on a private jet, 3 hours, like two and a half hours to Des Moines, landing at like 1 a.m. Eastern. Or no, it was like 2 or 3 a.m., going to sleep, and then waking up 4 hours later to record my morning show. We've got to bring 8 people with us. The easiest thing to do, lower costs, still more expensive than commercial, but the only way to pull it off. More importantly, the mobile recording kit that I would use for my morning show or for any emergency backups contains, it's probably, I don't know, $10,000. I cannot check that bag. First of all, I used to work for American Eagle Airlines, which is American Airlines Regional, and working in the bag room, look, it's funny because there'll be like a viral video where a guy, they'll see like a ramp agent lifting the bags and shoving them in the thing, and people are like, look how he's manhandling my bags. And I'm like, bro, you have no idea. I got one story from a long time ago. A guy picked up a bag, and they're heavy bags, right? So he grabbed it, and he spun around to create momentum so it would go up, and then he could slam it. I don't know. I was bored. Sometimes he just pick the bag up and throw it, but I guess he was having fun. He picked it up and spun so that it goes up, and then he slams it into one of the bag carts, and you hear a crunch. And there was wine in the bag. And I'm kind of thinking, like, you got to be nuts to put wine in your bag. It did say fragile on it, though. Something like that happened. And so anyway, we can't check it. Every company I've worked for, Vice, ABC News, Univision, policy is do not check cameras. If you can't carry them on, do not get on that plane, because that $500 plane ticket is not worth breaking a $7,000 camera. And so when it comes to flying, it's what we got to do. I suppose the answer then is we just don't do any road shows. We don't go to Des Moines. We don't go to these caucuses. And that's fair. But I'm not a climate change activist. I actually have no issue whatsoever with the existence of private jets. I think they're fine. I think Taylor Swift should use them. And I think there's a great opportunity for us as capitalists who believe in merit and who love technology and luxury to criticize the far left and once again weaponize the Taylor Swift narrative against, in this instance, climate change activists. Make them the villain. Listen, one of my fear right now is that come the Super Bowl, Travis Kelce is going to, I don't know, propose, or there's going to be some heartwarming moment, and they're going to try and get some, there could be some false flag MAGA guy being like, Taylor Swift works for the Pentagon, and then he like shoves Travis Kelce. Who knows? And I'm like, man, I don't know how, that would rile up every Swiftie to vote for Kelce. But my friends, please, as we look to the news now, we got a great opportunity to defend Taylor Swift's right to fly in a private jet, to criticize those who are telling her not to see Travis at the Super Bowl as liars and hypocrites. AOC wants to move towards banning air travel. No, I should say, but getting rid of air travel. That's what they said in the Green New Deal resolution. They want to move towards a future where air travel is not necessary. Well, for Taylor Swift to get from Tokyo to Vegas, literally right after her show, to all of her adoring fans, to then be with the man that she loves, she needs a private jet. I got no beef. I'm glad that so many people love her. They've afforded her that opportunity. I can't believe it. These leftists, they just want to take away Taylor Swift's happiness. How could they? From George Soros trying to buy out, the Soros family and the Carlyle Group trying to buy out her music, forcing her to re-record everything, to now demanding she does not fly on a plane that she deserves and worked hard to own. How dare they? In all seriousness, outside of the outrage, I do take offense to these leftists and their worldview. You got these people like Barack Obama buying waterfront property in an area that the climate change alarmists say would be flooded in the event of climate change. I actually think look, I'll say it right now, human pollution likely is contributing to environmental changes. I want to be very careful how I explain this because I don't know enough about global climate science, and they use all these nebulous terms. They change every few years. No, I think the garbage and the dead zones in the oceans, that likely pollution. There's this story of the Cuyahoga River or whatever burst into flames in the 70s, and that resulted in the Clean Water Restoration Act. I don't like humans polluting. I don't like people littering. Let's be clean, good stewards of the earth. That doesn't mean, I think, we ban people's right to fly a plane. Taylor Swift, she rebutted, saying they buy carbon tokens to offset how much they use. Take a look at this. This is funny. Here's the map. How Taylor Swift's jet crisscrossed the country in the past week. This is 1 week. Holy crap. I am jealous of this woman. July 23rd, Burbank to Nashville. That sounds like Taylor. July 28th, Nashville to Buffalo. July 28th, Buffalo to Burbank. Wow. Burbank to Albany, Albany to Nashville. Holy, wow. Take a look at this. Okay. Burbank to Nashville. Makes sense. She's in California. She's working on music and stuff. And then she wants to fly home. Then she flies on the 28th from Nashville to Buffalo. Okay, so is that where, that's not where Buffalo is. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry, that was 5. 2 is right here. Okay, that's where Buffalo is, up by Niagara Falls. Then, on the same day, what is she stopping in Buffalo for? Some wings? And then she flies back to Burbank. Amazing. The next day, she flies back to New York to Albany. Man, she's spending a lot of time on these planes. I got to tell you, Taylor, you got to watch out for that radiation when you're up in the sky like that. And then, wait, I got the dates wrong. July 29th, July 23rd, Albany to Nashville. How does that make sense? So here's what actually does make sense. She is loaning her plane out. I actually would be kind of surprised if she does charter her plane. It could be loaned out to other people who are in, you want to say loaned out? I bet it's like within her company or shared third-party businesses. But it would make sense because what would happen is, she would fly from Burbank to Nashville and then she stays home. Someone who is in Nashville charters her plane to fly to Buffalo, and then someone who is in Buffalo charters her plane to fly to Burbank. I kind of don't know if I believe that because she went from Burbank to Nashville, so it does kind of seem like she's the one doing all the flying. And considering the flights here are basically Nashville, Buffalo, Chicago, it's all basically New York and California. It seems like it's her that's doing it. I don't care. Do you care? How many of you care? I don't. So Taylor, enjoy yourself. And I'll say this too, because I don't really address a lot of the privacy stuff, right? Dude, this is sleazy. Okay, this guy who's posting people's tail numbers when they're landing and where they're going. I think it's cringe. I think it's not cool. Look, man, if you went out in front of someone's house and started filming their car and then started posting all of the publicly available information on where they are, that's stalking. The difference here is because of public airways, the information pertaining to these planes will be published. They don't say who's on the plane or anything, but he deduces it and then publishes this all. Bro, let Taylor land her plane and get her security in GTFO. How wild would it be if you drove to the gas station and you got out of your car and there were like 5 people all yelling at you and they knew you were there because some dude was posting your information? It is not, I don't know, man. Look, if he were to claim that he tracked 7,000 miles flown in the past week, X amount of carbon emissions, and even the general area, like the metro, I'd say, okay, fine, whatever. If he said Taylor Swift will be flying from California to New York, which will add, 2,500 miles, blah, 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 I'd say, all right, I guess. He's not revealing her personal location. He's explaining information related to the amount of flying she's doing. But no, it's quite literally like taking off from this airport, landing at this airport, at this time and at this time. And here's the crazy thing. You get in a plane. I said this about Elon. And then they announce what flight you're on, and they know when you're going to land. You're giving some of these crazy people like several hours to plan something awful. And if they're planning something awful because you've reported in the past she flies from Burbank to Nashville back and forth, then all you got to do is wait until you give the word, and then they can be waiting there. That is creepy stuff. I'm not okay with it. I think Taylor should be allowed to fly her jet. And I think she should fly from Tokyo to Japan so that she can enjoy the company of her love interest. Here's the crazy thing, though, I got to be honest. It looks like her jet's massive. Okay, like, look at this. I don't know if this, I'm assuming this plane right here, that's a private jet. You can tell because the seats flipped around. And man, what kind of jet is she flying on? Look, I'll be honest with you guys. The best I think I've flown on is probably a Lear jet. That was wild. But the jets that I've flown on, you can't stand up in. These are 8 to 8. I think the biggest we've been on is probably a 12-seater. And you could kind of stand up in it, but your neck's twisted a little bit. You can kind of stand up. I ain't flown in anything like what Taylor Swift's flying on, where you can actually stand up in it. It is pretty cool. It's wild. When you land at these, it's like there's a bunch of fixed base operators. There's things like Signature Flight Support. That's where you land. So if you're flying into New York, typically people who fly private will fly into Teterboro in New Jersey. No real reason to fly into New York proper, but you'll land at Signature Flight Support, and it is crazy because like some of the planes that we've flown on, there's one that we've used maybe like half the time, I don't even know if they exist anymore. It's called Verijet, and they're microscopic. It's like sitting in an SUV for 2 hours with no bathroom. That's the kind of private, we're utilizing. But that's a 4-seater. And they tend to be half the cost, although recently they've been more expensive and substantially less functional. So that company seems to be in trouble, I guess. But if we fly, it's not always a jet too. So I'll give you some insider information, I guess. People who don't know this stuff may be interested. So typically we fly on a turboprop. A turboprop plane is not a jet; it's a plane, and they're much slower, takes longer to fly. They're much cheaper, but this is private flight. If you're flying from, we fly to New York. We flew from Martinsburg to New York. I believe it was an hour or so flight, maybe an hour and a half. And it was because we had a show in New York and we had like 8 people who had to be there. And so it's like, okay, well, instead of buying everybody tickets, let's just get one plane. That way everyone's in the same location. The cars arrive in and out, no security, no wait times. And I would say it cost us for this flight, it was, let me do the math here. I think it was like $1,500 per person to fly on a turboprop plane. What was it? I think it was a King Air, I guess. So it's not a jet. It's not very big. You can't stand up and there's no bathroom. But private flight was, I think it ended up being like double what it would have cost if we flew commercial first class. So if we put all of our crew in coach, it would add probably 10 hours to the trip, which we're doing a weekend show. So that's like out of the question. And, but I think the coach seats were like $300. So it added a bit more per person, but time-wise, it was basically the only way we can do it. But this is the important thing to understand too. Turbo propeller plane, turboprops they call them. They're small and not very fast. And then you start slowly as you increase the range of how far you have to go from Martinsburg to New York is not very far, straight shot with a plane. But going to Des Moines, going to Phoenix, these things get crazy. Cross country, it's like if you're going like DC to LA, it's like $100,000 for a jet that can do it. Otherwise, you get these little jets that stop several times and it's like road tripping. It's like, it's better than road tripping. You'll get there in 6-7 hours. But if you want to actually get there, I think you'll need like a Gulfstream that can actually traverse it in one hop. Those are like $100,000. That's crazy. So the most we've done are these small ones. It typically costs like $10,000 to $20,000. I know it's crazy, right? But otherwise we can't make it work. And so this is one of the biggest challenges with doing live events for us, which is why we've decided to shift to this physical space we have in Martinsburg, which is our location where Cast Brew Coffee is going to have its first location. We're going to be doing just some local events. We're going to sell tickets. They're probably going to be a little bit on the higher end, but on the highest end, because it's going to be like super VIP. You're literally standing in the room next to whoever our guest is and, sitting 10 feet from them. And it's a private members only thing. So become a member at timcast.com. But I got to be honest, it's like the cost of private jets weighs us down. Production costs are like $20,000, like setting up the studio. Then we got to spend like $20,000 on a flight. Then we got to spend like $10,000 on hotels and accommodation. And then we're crossing our fingers we even make that much money off doing an event, which of course we do not. I'll let y'all in on a secret. The amount that we made from the Des Moines event, I think was like $10,000. And then we sold the sponsorship, of course, to Based Records. Shout out to Based Records, fan, and appreciate their support. And it's only because of the sponsorship we're able to make it work. And we lost a lot of money. There's a challenge, man. It's a question I suppose I can give to all of you guys who have made it this far in the video. We're able to do it because you guys are members at timcast.com. I've mentioned this several times. What I pay myself in terms of a salary, it just comes from this. The morning show that I do, the multiple segments, is my salary out of the Timcast company. If I were to get rid of IRL, shut everything down, fire everybody, my salary would not change. In fact, probably could go up. But don't get me wrong, there are profits from the company when we don't spend money or invest it. If we don't invest or whatever and the money just builds up, it rolls over to me. So I do make profit off everything else. But my view is basically like the timcast.com stuff, all the memberships, we reinvest into going to Des Moines to do the show with Vivek Ramaswamy, even though we're going to lose a lot of money by doing it, because that's the point. You guys are members, you pay for it, and we're like, let's spend the money where we can. And I often say, like, if I was asked what I would, if I could buy anything, what would I buy? I'm like, I'd buy flying to Des Moines in a blizzard to interview Vivek Ramaswamy during the caucuses. That's worth so much more to me than a new pair of shoes or something. But, that means we lose money on those endeavors. I do think it's ultimately good for the business. I think it attracts new members. And the more members we get, the more we can do things like this. I don't like the idea of spending money inefficiently, but we need to get a private jet to be able to fly to Des Moines to do this. So we do. And we lose money, but I think we get something of tremendous value out of it. And I think you guys have paid that membership because that's what you want to happen. So hopefully in the future we can do more of that. And then for like Cast Brew Coffee, almost all the money, I'm pretty sure all of it. Like I'll just say this. My understanding is when you buy from castbrew.com, we sponsor the show. That money stays in Cast Brew. We're trying to build up Cast Brew. It's generating profits and revenue. I loaned it money so it could start. Now when coffee is sold, it goes into the company's accounts where there's a staff. I think we have a couple staff members, maybe just one. And the goal there is to build these physical locations up. So that money doesn't come to me in some, like I'm not buying cars or anything. That money goes towards paying for the expansion of these of the operation of our hopes and dreams for it. So long story short, I don't know. That's some insider baseball on costs and expenses. I bring that up just because, for one, I think people may be curious, but I also want to point out when it comes to Taylor Swift, there's probably such costs that people don't even realize. I'm also going to say, dude, what's it going to cost her to fly from Tokyo to Las Vegas on a private jet? $200,000? Absolutely insane. Crazy, crazy, crazy. But I got no beef, man. Just don't make enemies where you don't need them. Let's cheer on Taylor Swift and criticize those who are saying she shouldn't fly in her jet. I'll leave it there. Next time it's coming up at 6 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.